My turn? Thank you very much. So I'm Mike Brown. I've had the privilege of being the mayor of Grand Forks for 16 years, and the hallmark of my administration has been common sense, transparency, and accountability in city government. We must work together to get the best value for our dollar, and I feel my record has proven that. My proposed budgets have been honest and efficient of the use of taxpayer dollars. Council-approved budgets over the last 16 years have reflected this efficiency. The role of government is to protect and serve. We must provide those services that keep Grand Forks a place in which people want to live, not a place they want to leave. Cutting services would affect those who can afford it the least. And my administration, working with economic development, has emphasized support for our present businesses to provide more jobs and better jobs, jobs that will help our families live the way they should. And government is nothing more than setting priorities. Each decision must be evaluated with the questions: will it unify or divide Grand Forks? And will it get us where we need to be in 5, 10, or 20 years? And the road ahead continues to offer challenges, and I hope to continue to appeal to our sense of optimism, our hopes, our solidarity, our sense of community, and our sense of compassion. And look at the exciting developments occurring over the last few years that reaffirm our community spirit and our positive direction, validating the value of working together for a common goal. I'm extremely proud of our community and our partners and the respect with which we treat each other. I look forward to continuing to reflect those values of mutual respect and partnership in moving the community forward and in representing the people of Grand Forks.
Councilmember Bjerke.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the Empire for hosting another free speech event. I realize some politicians in this town don't believe in free speech, and they try to limit those who are allowed to talk in this town. So I want to thank you for allowing, once again, another free speech event. I want to address, the first issue I want to address is the so-called "you always vote no." And this could have been done by anybody, including the media, but I've never seen it, so I did it myself. I went back to the 2015 minutes of all city council meetings. I did not count any votes for paying the bills, approving the minutes, or procedural votes. The total votes I made in 2015 were 484. There were 437 yes, there were 47 no. That means I voted with the rest of the city council 90% of the time. Feel free to trust but verify on that. So when you hear people tell you that I never vote yes, I'm always voting no, I will be kind and say they are misinformed. I would also challenge everyone in the audience here today, if you're married, to talk to your spouse tonight and ask them, do we agree 90% of the time? Because I have agreed with the council 90% of the time. I realize I scare people, and there are people who are going to use tactics to keep me from getting elected. We're going to have dirt roads. The police officers are going to be Barney Fife with one bullet in her right pocket, and the firefighters will be showing up at a fire in a minivan with super soakers. But that's simply not true. My record on spending for essential city services is well documented, and as I'll go through in my close, I can give you examples where I've spent more than what the council originally talked about. I want to address a letter to the editor today. We talked about some issues. I'm going to address 3 specific. Are we going to have clean streets? Of course we're going to have clean streets. But I'll tell you what we're not going to have. We're not going to have a 6-figure consultant who doesn't document his work, who doesn't document his expenses, and doesn't report to the people. We'll have mosquito control, but I'm not going to use your money to fly to Japan. And we're going to have spring cleanup, but I'm not going to give my assistant a $24,000 raise and not tell you. Thank you.
Mayor Brown, you started us off with your opening remarks, so we will ask Councilmember Bjerke to be the first to answer this question. And we'll keep alternating for the questions that follow. So question number 1 for tonight's debate is, what role should the city play in the resettlement and integration of refugees?
Well, if I'm elected, one of the things I would like to do before the end of the year, sometime October, November, is to have a city town hall meeting on this issue. I don't believe a lot of residents have any faith in what they've been told on this issue. And in case you haven't noticed by now, I don't mind asking tough questions. So I want to have all the appropriate federal, state, and local agencies show up at this meeting. And I want to have the residents have the ability to ask their questions uncensored. It's not going to go before a group of people who are going to decide what questions they want to discuss and what not discuss, but any question will be fair game. And the residents for themselves can hear what the answers are. If there's concerns about the schools, concerns about jobs, concerns about crime, whatever it is, this public forum will give an answer to those questions, and the people will have an ability to hear for themselves the answers instead of having what we have now, which was, frankly, agencies who won't talk to the people. Thank you.
Mayor Brown, 1 minute for your own answer.
We'll state the question again. State it.
What role should the city play in the resettlement and integration of refugees?
I think the refugee resettlement is like federally mandated, and we are required to take a certain number of refugees. And there's nobody more researched than a refugee. They know everything about them. They're the safest people in the world, and they are looking for new lives for a commitment and families and a community that welcomes them so they can have jobs and provide for their families like we do. And I think that I got to read to the fourth graders at Winship School. Winship School is 1/3 ELL. In the fourth grade, they said, how many speak one language? 8 stood up. How many speak 2 languages? 8 more stood up. How many speak 3 languages? 8 more stood up. So I think it diversifies our community, and it gives us a broader vision, and we are helping people achieve the American dream, and they are also then helping us with our workforce and our other needs.
Councilmember Bierke, you have 30 seconds to rebut.
Well, once again, I think the meeting I propose is important. It is a federally mandated program. I'm not sure as of late, but I know at one time certain states opted out of it. I believe North Dakota, as a state, has been derelict in their duty and is not properly supervising this program and has turned it over to LSS, a non-government program. So I think there's a lot of questions need to be asked, and I think the people deserve to hear the answers. Thank you.
Mayor Brown, 30 seconds.
I think we need to continue to be a welcoming community if we're going to continue to grow and be successful and vibrant.
Mayor Brown, this next question will go to you to answer first. The state of North Dakota is facing a $1 billion shortfall. How will the state's budget troubles affect Grand Forks' budgeting process, and what changes, if any, should be made?
Well, it's going to directly affect us because we do depend on the state and federal government for funding. So it just means we're going to have to be more creative in our own solutions, as people had discussed before, the possibility of an increase in sales tax. And I was pleased tonight to see the council competitors be so passionate about the future of Grand Forks, and you can tell that honest people can have different opinions, so I was very happy to see that. But they all agreed that we need to hunker down as a community, look for our own solutions, and be open, be receptive, and not be closing ourselves in.
Council member, 1 minute.
As mayor, I think we need to, I would like to speak to the governor and the legislators, especially the legislators from 18, 42, 43, and 17 who represent Grand Forks, to make sure that the state money is spent wisely. Clearly, the higher you go up in government, the more money is spent and the potential for more waste is there. I do think we have to be concerned about the money we would get, but unlike many people, I do not immediately reflex to the position of we need more money, let's take more money from the people. I'm well documented on going through the budget. I am more than confident that there are some areas we can cut and save some money and do things differently. So we will meet the need without raising taxes, and we will make the priorities be needs first, wants second. Thank you.
Mayor, 30 seconds.
I would send Mr. Bierke to Bismarck as a lobbyist for our community.
Councilmember, you have 30 seconds.
Well, I do think we're not aggressive enough with the state. I would remind everyone last session they spent $1.1 billion on infrastructure in the state of North Dakota. The city of Grand Forks, the 3rd largest city in the state, got 0, nada, nil, nothing. Unacceptable. And we also need to hold our local Grand Forks legislators accountable to make sure that Grand Forks is getting our needs, not pork, but our needs. Thank you.
Councilmember Bierke, this question will go to you first. Have our efforts at fighting for Grand Forks Air Force Base been effective, or should our approach be reevaluated?
I believe our approach should be reevaluated. I believe we have too many cooks in the kitchen. I would like to take this program and put it under the leadership of the EDC. And I believe that we can reduce the amount we're spending because I just think we're duplicating. I also don't think we're taking full advantage of our congressional delegation. And I would especially say that we're certainly not taking, in my opinion, of the ability of Congressman Kramer and the connections he has, not only to the Defense Department, but also to private sector people involved, especially in Grand Sky. He's got a lot of connections I don't think we're taking advantage of. So no, I don't like the way it's being done now. I do need it to be reshaped. It's been a long time. Frankly, I would say to you, when was the last time you saw a city council meeting where you got a thorough briefing on this issue? And when you let me know, I'll be happy to go back. I must have missed that one. We're not getting enough information as a city on this. Thank you.
Mayor Brown, 1 minute.
Well, I think base retention efforts have proven to be successful, as we've seen by the 3 times that we've been narrowly avoiding closure. And I think it goes back to relationships and working with the people who know in the Pentagon and the generals and the people who make Air Force decisions for the future. It's important we be involved. It's important they know how loyal the community is to the base, how we support our base. We've received awards for that. It's important that they know that we're proud to be the home of Grand Forks Air Force Base. And I think we offer a great deal for the support of the mission of the United States Air Force.
Councilmember, 30 seconds.
Well, I would just reiterate, I believe it needs to be refocused. I think we need to get under economic development. I think we need a leader out of there to take the bull by the horns. And I think the city council and the people need to be much more informed about what's going on, where we're at, and where we're going in the future. Thank you.
Mayor, 30 seconds.
Oh, I think our success shows what we've been doing has worked.
Mayor Brown, this question will go to you first. What role, if any, should the city play in promoting arts and vibrancy initiatives?
I think as the city, it is our job to create the community and the environment where people want to live, learn, work, play, and stay. And I think it's okay to have an emphasis on that because of quality of life. And I've seen it be very successful, and I think that's very important. And we see the excitement and the enthusiasm in our community has grown. Things from the Art Fest to farmers market, to extreme events on the Red. I mean, all of these things add a vibrancy to our community that then make young people want to stay or move here. And during that extreme event on the Red, people flew in from Africa to swim in our river. You know, who would have thought there would be a tourist attraction that our Red River would be bringing people in? So I think it's important we, as city leaders, have the vision and the confidence to promote our community in that positive way.
Councilmember Bierke, 1 minute.
On this issue, it's very clear for me. If the only way we can do this is by raising taxes, then I would say no. Our taxes, for 10 consecutive years, we've had budget proposals by the mayor to raise the property taxes. We hear tonight that a lot of people sitting up here want to raise the sales taxes, and our roads aren't fixed. So frankly, why would I worry about buying giant blue heads if I have to raise property tax, raise sales tax, and not fix roads? Needs before wants. And I know in 2016 in America, that might scare some people, but I'm old-fashioned. And needs come before wants. My 2 boys ate their green beans before they got dessert, and for too long we've been focused on the wants, and we have let the needs go, and now we're being told we have to raise taxes to fund the needs. That is inappropriate. Thank you.
Mayor Brown, 30 seconds.
Okay, so you know that your city property tax, your property tax is 99 mills for the city, 97 mills for the school because of the 125 buy down by the state, 104 for the county and 40 for the park district. The truth is, in 2006, your portion of that was $728. And the truth is, in 2015, your part of that tax was $560. That's $47 a month you pay for all of your general fund, like police, fire, 9/11, street maintenance, snow removal, streets, library, public transit, airport. So all those things are covered. So have we raised taxes? No. This is a very responsible council, and they've been very conservative, and it's a pleasure working with them.
Councilmember, 30 seconds.
I know conservatives, and this council is not conservative. Thank you.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
Councilmember Bierke, this question will go to you. The library is a hot issue in Grand Forks. How will you lead for or against the library's construction or renovation?
I believe the current library should be remodeled. Over my years of work, I have delivered plenty of mail to plenty of houses that are over 100 years old. And if they're still standing here and they've been renovated, I find it hard to believe a building built in the early 1970s can't be renovated. And I'm not mentioning names. I've talked to an electrical contractor and HVAC contractor. They both say that building can be renovated. That building was built to be expanded. I don't even know if it needs to be expanded. I think we got to look at exactly what a library in the future is going to be. Frankly, the mall is right next door. We might consider renting a small space out there and put the computers in there. That's a lot cheaper than spending $25 million on a new one and have more room in the current one once it's remodeled. So I don't believe the number that they're given for remodel. I think that's been inflated to make the case to spend $25 million for a new library. If I'm mayor, I'm going to find the money and I'm going to put out a request for proposal to remodel that building out of city money if I need to versus library. I want a real number. Thank you.
Mayor, 1 minute.
Okay, I find it interesting. You know, the Masons built that building to last hundreds of years, and the Grand Forks Courthouse, we just recently celebrated their 100th anniversary. Those buildings were built to last. But it's interesting that our Grand Forks Library, since 2009, it's been recognized that remodeling the current facility is not the best option for the Grand Forks Public Library. And that comes from the 2009 needs assessment by Library Strategies Incorporated that said building on a new site is the best plan. 2010 telephone survey of Grand Forks community by DMD Consulting said that 70% of people are in favor of a new library. 2011, the feasibility study by PSA Dewberry Architects recommendation, remodeling is the least appropriate of any of the scenarios due to many limitations of the existing site and existing building. 2013, Grand Forks Library Working Group, a wide range of community people said a new facility is the most cost-effective, flexible solution to meet future needs of growing Grand Forks. 2014, JLG recommended a new building, and the remodel is the lowest of 5 options. And the list goes on with these consultants who are experts in their field, and I respect their opinion.
Council member, 30 seconds. Before going.
Please remember that the question is, how will you lead for or against the library's construction or renovation?
I've stated for a fact I'm for remodeling. I made it very clear. My comment would be that library consultants and architects make more money on new libraries than old libraries. And in 2010, scientific surveys said 70% of the people would vote for a new library. When we had the vote, 60% said no. So much for the scientific survey. Thank you.
I think rebuilding is the best option.
Mayor Brown, this next question will go to you. Including the library, how do you rank Grand Forks' biggest infrastructure issues, and how would you pay for them?
Well, the biggest issues we all know is going to be a water treatment plant, and then we have underpass, overpass, all these things that are coming. And how would I propose? I think as a community we have to decide what are our options, what way do we pay for it, and if a sales tax is the most feasible option. It's worked well in other communities like Fargo. And I don't think that we should be afraid. Tax is not a 4-letter word. I mean, it's a tool that government has to accomplish what we need to do for our citizens. And I think it's our role in government to help people make the right choices, do the best thing, and accomplish our goals.
Council member, 1 minute.
Well, if this goes to sales tax, I'm going to take 2 birds out one time here. I'm opposed to the sales tax. I do not believe the citizens of Grand Forks should have their local taxes raised to fix state roads while Bismarck has billions, that's B with an S at the end, billions of dollars in the bank. That is ludicrous. We need a state that takes care of its state's roads. I also don't believe that on a sales tax for the water plant, because a lot of large institutions by law don't pay sales tax. For example, schools, state institutions such as UND and hospitals will then not have to pay, so they're going to get a free ride. It's a user fee, and that's how it should stay. I would remind everybody the corporate center bond gets paid off in 2017. The mills for the dike get paid off in 2020 and 21, and 2 more bonds get paid off in 2021. We should be able to hold the line, and then as this money comes available, divert it to the appropriate infrastructure instead of raising taxes. Thank you.
Mayor,
Well,
30 seconds.
we live in the real world, and you could tell the state all you want, they owe us money, but if they don't do it, we have to do it for ourselves. We have to live here, and I think we as a community need to take responsibility for that.
Council member.
I would say you need to be much more aggressive for the state. I'll repeat myself. Last time, $1.1 billion, we got nothing. So is anyone scared of me going down there and letting them have it? I can't do any worse than 0, so it'll be a tie. Thank you.
Councilmember Bierke, this next question will go to you first. Mayor Brown has not exercised his veto power during his 3 terms in office. Mayor Brown, why is that? And Councilmember Bierke, with your history on the council being the 1 in 6-to-1 votes, how do you foresee not just using vetoes, but also convincing the council not to override them?
Well, number 1, I'm proud of being the 1. In fact, the chamber should give me the award for Mr. Diversity, since we're all about diversity in 2016, because I'm the 1. I also would say, as far as the veto, it's going to depend on the issues. I'm not going to get up there and fight the fight on every issue. I'm going to pick and choose what's appropriate. I will be more than happy, though, to use my bully pulpit as the mayor to talk to the people and maybe give them hints of email addresses and phone numbers of council members to convince them that this is worth the fight. Frankly, if I get elected, number one, I hope Altru has extra ambulances on standby, because there's probably going to be some heart attacks in town. And number two, that means the people want something different. And I'm going to make sure the council knows the people want something different. Thank you.
Mayor Brown, 1 minute.
Okay, so why haven't I vetoed anything the council has done? Because I have great respect for that deliberative body. And I'm really pleased with the thoughtful discussions and the way they come to a consensus and the way we vote. And if I veto that, then that's your news. Mayor and council are fighting. And then where do we go? We get away from the issues to the mayor and the council are fighting. And that's not how I want to be remembered. And I think you build more with consensus. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I think with 7 people, I think they come up with pretty good solutions. And one of those things was Choice Health and Fitness. I wanted it where they built Discovery School. But I didn't fight it, so they built Choice and Fitness where it is, and now we have Discovery Schools, jump-starting a neighborhood, things much better than I could have ever accomplished with my veto. So I'm very pleased with the council. I respect their opinion, and I think your job as a leader is to build consensus and move things forward and achieve things together.
Council member, 30 seconds.
I know for a fact there's a lot of consensus in Cuba, North Korea, and Iran also. I would say this, I'm not afraid of the veto. I don't hold personal grudges. Obviously, if you pay attention over the years, ideologically, there's a lot of people I totally disagree with, but there's no ill will towards them for me. When people come up to have an issue before the council, it's strictly based on the facts. I analyze it and make a decision. So a good kerfuffle occasionally would be good for this town.
Mayor Brown, 30 seconds.
Well, I think it's interesting to show that what we're doing is working because we were selected as a top place to live, number 28 in 2016, best small college town in America in 2015, leading U.S. metro location, number 10, top 30 small cities, number 5 in the area development, Forbes best places for business and careers, August 2014, and the most secure small cities, number 9 in Farmers Insurance 2013. So what we're doing is working.
Mayor Brown, this next question goes to you first. Thinking about your experience in the mayor's office or on the council, what are the most important and successful instances in which you collaborated with others?
Well, the list goes on and on and on and on. What we have collaborated in, you can go back to the Greenway, to the arts and events, to the farmers market, 4th of July celebration, Blues in the Red, festival, Catfish Days, Greenway again, a senior bus system, Air Force Base retention, Alara Center, and can add in. And it's interesting with the Alara Center, we have added true property value around that. On the tax, true value and full value of property around the Alara Center is $142 million, which then raises $22 million annually in tax. So there's other things we collaborated on. Downtown development, Cirrus Aircraft, LM Wind Power, beautification efforts. And like I said, the list goes on and on from a strong recovery to building a strong vision for the community.
Councilmember, 1 minute.
I would say, first of all, to claim credit for the hotels and that area for the Alaris is clearly not true. Look at their occupancy rates now. It's not because the Alaris has less events. It's because the Canadians aren't there. The reason those hotels are there, because that's the closest open land to Columbia Mall and the restaurants on 32nd. It's just happened to be a location issue, not anything to do with the Alaris. What I've collaborated on, and this is going to shock some people, those who always think I vote no. I'll go through a rather lengthy list here if I get through all of them. I voted for the Social Detox Center. I voted for the new airport terminal. For the police cars, we had a debate. They had cars versus what you would probably call a crossover. And I went to the police department, as I ride with them on occasion, and I could go into a lot of detail about how I'm involved in different city areas and gotten down in the sewers and everything else. But I asked them, do you need bigger police cars? And they said yes. I led the effort to spend more money to get them better cars. I was involved in the quiet zones, and I'm going to stop. In my rebuttal, I'll continue with the list. Thank you.
Mayor, 30 seconds.
For what we've accomplished as a community, I think just look at the economic success of our community, look at the partnership with UND, look at our partnership with the base, look at the Grand Sky, look at the enhanced use development, look at General Atomics, Northrop Grumman, look at what we're bringing to this community, look at our UAS program and our affiliation.
Councilmember.
I will continue. I led the fight to change the towing ordinance. What was happening is the vehicles would be towing over to Minnesota. That means they left our jurisdiction and they could be charged whatever you want, that company could, for you to get your car back. And I got that changed so the cars now stay in the city limits of Grand Forks. I support economic development money for infrastructure. I supported the East Grand Forks Interconnect. In fact, at one meeting, I was the only member of the Grand Forks City Council there on the east side. And I'll stop there and I'll do more for close. Thank you.
Councilmember Bierke, this question goes to you first. Has the current city administration fought hard enough to keep taxes down in Grand Forks?
That'd be a big no. Literally well, for the last 10 years, the mayor has proposed property tax increases in his budget, so that's not an effort. It's the easy button in government, raise taxes. I'm going to go through some of the policies. We have a policy of attrition, which means once you leave, then we'll decide if that job is needed or not. And over the years, I've seen as people leave, wow, that job went away. Apparently, by some miraculous thing, the day that person left is the day that job became obsolete. Just think about that. In other words, it didn't happen. We're not here to provide jobs and to make things easy, et cetera, for certain people. We're here to represent the taxpayers. And it's your money. It's not my money, it's not his money, it's not the council's money. It's your money. And I'll get some, I'm proud to have been the watchdog for the years I've been on the council. Thank you.
No, I disagree. I think if you look at, we've had no tax increase in the last 2 years. You look at your tax bill is for the city is $200 less. And I think another thing that's important is working with the school board and the park district and the county is that working together, we have balanced what we do so that there's no sticker shock for the citizens of Grand Forks. And as you saw last time, they say, well, the city didn't raise their taxes, then they have a job to do. I think we're paid to do a job, and that's protect and serve and make our community viable and vibrant and a place where people want to come to, want to live, want to work, want to stay, want to play. I think that's very important. And if you look at our budget year in 2001, we had the value of the mill was $81,000. Now the value of the mill is $192,000. So that shows that our city is growing and it shows that it's healthy. We have a 1.3% increase in population. I think that this council has looked at every budget I proposed and come up with the best solution for my vision for the community.
Councilmember, 30 seconds.
I would just say this. I'll take 8 of you people out there right now in random, and I'm going to give you $160 million. Go back and watch any of the budget votes over the years. Besides myself, at that meeting, see how many times somebody brought something up they want something done different. So do 7 of the 8 agreeing on all $160 million? Do you really believe that? Do you believe that would happen with 7 of your best friends? Thank you.
Mayor?
But I think it's important that we work together on this and that there's a collaboration and a team, and that's what we have in our council. And I think I trust their judgment and I trust their advice, and I think that we're doing an effective job of keeping taxes controlled. Our property tax right now is 1.29%. In 2006, we thought under 2% was good. So I think we've been very responsible with taxpayer dollars.
Mayor Brown, this next question goes to you first. What role should the city play in economic development? Mayor Brown, what have you done right in this area? And Mr. Bierke, what would you do differently?
Well, I think economic development is very important for our community, and I think our founding fathers were very wise to sit at the EDC, and its purpose was to attract first-level businesses or primary sector. And now I think we've modified that under my term to promoting businesses that we have in town and helping them be successful, as well as bringing in primary sector jobs. I think we have great leadership in Klaus Thiessen and Keith Lund and the rest of EDC. And I think that they're active, they're willing participants, they're just a great team, and I think they've done a great job.
Councilmember, 1 minute.
I support using economic development money for infrastructure because that benefits everyone. I don't believe in picking winners and losers, and I would challenge both you, the audience, and the media. Feel free to go back, say, the last 5 or 10 years. Go back and look at the businesses who have been the benefactor of all these programs. You're going to see a handful of names come up repeatedly. At what point do you get out of the incubator, or are you going to just be on there forever and keep to the point you have to retire in Social Security? I don't believe in that. I don't believe in giving people money to build apartments in downtown. If it's so great to live downtown and the market is demanding and that's where everybody wants to go, that should be the last place you subsidize. Be it every apartment building I can think of in Grand Forks in recent past has been subsidized. Some of them have even gotten cash, hard-earned money from you to build those apartments. Once again, if it's the place to be, the market says they should be able to build it without subsidies.
I think it's okay to jumpstart the pump and get the development going because success begets success. And the more success you have, then the more people, the more businesses, the more vibrant community you have, the more a place people want to live. So I think it's okay for government to take that leadership role. Our job is vision as well as numbers.
Go ahead.
I have heard that for 30 years, and I will remind everyone, we're going to be, if the mayor is reelected, you're going to be hearing about a property tax increase and a sales tax increase. So if the economic development plan that's basically been in place for 30 years has worked so well, and they kept telling me all through these years that to do this is going to stabilize the tax rates, at what point do they stop rising? And I'm waiting for that answer. It's going up faster than the flood in '97. Thank you.
Can I rebut? Because I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what's going to happen.
We've got to move on.
Good.
Councilmember, this next question goes to you first. What role, if any, should the city play in addressing housing affordability?
Well, let me just say, first of all, I absolutely positively want no part of getting into the housing business as far as buying land, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a free market person. That's not our job. I would also say that raising property taxes is an odd way to increase the affordability of houses. I would also say raising the sales tax is an odd way of making houses more affordable. I've been clear for a long time, even before I ran for mayor. I think we're overregulated. I hope some of you watched the council meeting and watched the developers of apartments get literally tortured like they're a prisoner in Vietnam in the 70s when they try and build a building, and to have people tell them how their roof can look like, what their siding can look like, what their windows can look like. And oh yes, my now new personal favorite, you get to have a meeting in your building. They can come in your building and have a meeting in your room as part of the deal. To rebut someone earlier, if that's property rights, I think our founding fathers would be shocked if they saw that. Thank you.
Mayor,
Well, I think it's interesting. Property tax back in 2006 was 2%. Now property tax is 1.29%. That is not going up. That is going down, as you can see in your tax bill. And I think affordable housing is a free market issue. If people didn't want to live here, then your houses would cost less. They'd be worth less. And maybe your taxes would go down, but if you have a total tax bill divided by fewer people, your taxes are going to go up. So I think we have the right plan, and we will work with our developers on smaller lots, different infrastructure needs, but I agree they don't deserve a free ride, but they certainly deserve our support.
Councilmember, 30 seconds.
A quick rebut. For all of you, he keeps mentioning how it's changed. I hope you don't forget the state's buying your taxes down. And if this next session they decide to go away from that, you're going to find out real quick where your property taxes are going. You better hang on to your wallet because you're in for a shock. Thank you.
Mayor, 30 seconds.
Oh, the state is buying down the school portion of your property tax, and maybe 12% of your city. But that's not the big issue. The big issue is we have been fiscally responsible as a council and the mayor with our past budgets to show the decrease in the property tax rate.
Just two more questions. This one will go to Mayor Brown first. Name 3 cities in the United States that you admire for their governance.
Well, that's easy because we did 3 trips to look at good ideas to bring back to Grand Forks. If you bring back, when we brought back some wonderful ideas, we've seen Downtown Development Association do some of those. Winnipeg is a great city. Fort Collins, Colorado is a great city, and Austin is a great city. And they have a vibrancy that they've developed through their community where people want to live there, they like to live there, they want to move there. They have great, like Austin is a city of live music, Winnipeg is a city of arts, Fort Collins has big tire brewery, and microbreweries, and they have bike rides, bike competitions that people really, really, really love their communities. And so these are communities we can get ideas, but they started their plan 20 years ago, and they're achieving success now. So it behooves us in Grand Forks to start our plan now if we're going to be where we need to be in 20 years, because it's not overnight success.
Councilmember?
Well, I don't have much knowledge outside. This might shock you. When I go on vacation, which is rarely, but if I do, I don't go to a city and examine their government. Frankly, that's the last thing on my mind. For what I've seen in North Dakota, governments are pretty much the same all over. They keep taking more money and keep taking away rights and don't respect the citizens and their money. And that's just a general comment. I know that's not true in all places, but along this line, my vision of a great city is where people wake up every day and do whatever they want to do, and the last thing that comes across their mind is what the government is doing.
But a great city is where people wake up with things to do. And
My rebut? A great city is where people wake up and take care of themselves and are not takers and go and take money from their neighbors so they can be entertained. That would be a great city.
Council member, this is our last question. This one will go to you.
To me?
To you.
Okay.
And the final question is, which of your opponent's policies or proposals do you object to most strongly and why?
Well, it's a taxation. I just think overall, and it's just a difference of philosophy. The current mayor is a hands-off, and I'll say it, he's a unicorn puppy flower guy, which is fine. That's what he wants to do. That's not me. I'm operations. For those who don't know, I have ran a business in the past, a rather successful business. So I'm much more into operations. That's what I'll be focused on, the budget, the day-to-day operations. I think we can do better than what we're doing now. I think we can provide many of our same services better, and I think some of them need to be evaluated. I think some need to be looked at to be privatized. We need to do something different. Once again, I chuckle somewhat in the age of diversity that with as much stuff as I've thrown against the wall, that literally nothing is stuck. So I think when it comes to diversity, if it's the diversity you like, they embrace. If it's not, it goes in the trash can. Thank you.
We live in communities because together we can accomplish more than we can do individually, and we can also do it at a better price, whether it's protect and serve or amenities or transportation or things like this. That's why we live in communities. And we live in communities, we also need collaboration, we also need team building. And the thing I've seen with my opponent with his 22 points of light, we do our 8 weeks of discussion of budget, and then here's 22 points. They don't have time to think about it. They haven't built a collaboration. They haven't looked at it. Maybe he has some good ideas, but they're just presented in such a brash manner that no one has, they're afraid of it. And it's so quick, it's like we got to make a decision that night. So that's one thing I see with my opponent. If you want dysfunctional Washington, D.C. politics in Grand Forks where you have the mayor fighting the council and nothing gets done, then he's the man to vote for.
I would say this, if mayor thinks my ideas are so great, 746-1017, you had years to call me, I'd have been happy to meet with you, but you never called. I would say to the council, for people who don't know, is we have open meeting laws in this city. If two finance committee members meet and start talking on an issue, they're breaking the law. Same as service safety. I can't go starting a little chain email and phone calls to council members and start, let's go through this stuff. That's violating the law. It's the mayor's budget. I have no input, and that's fine. He's the mayor. He gets to leave me out. The reason they're not in there is he's not interested in them, which is fine, but that's the record. He wasn't interested in them.
Mayor, 30
No
seconds.
comment.
Okay. For our final summary, Mayor Brown, do you go first for 2 minutes?
Well, the city of Grand Forks, the city portion of your tax bill has had no increase in the past 2 years, and Mr. Bierke can't take credit for that. And Mr. Bierke has been the least effective council member for the last 10 years, if not in the history of Grand Forks. Bierkeville is a dark and uninviting place. Motion carries, Mr. Bierke dissents. How many times have we heard that on items such as, yes, maybe 47 were positive, were negative? Greenway, bike trails, base retention, mosquito control, public transportation, enhanced use lease, dog park, recycling, and the list goes on. It is my job as mayor to have a vision for this city. It is my job to build partnerships to make sure we get there. It's my job to give direction. And if you look back at from strong recovery after the flood to building a strong vision to our community, we completed our flood protection project. We were the poster child of flood recovery according to FEMA. We were a destination city initiative. We created a vision for that. We had the Canada Inn as the destination center. Canada Inn's then buildings, hotels are coming there because of the convention. We had the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We started that back in 2000, and we've seen great success with that, with them recruiting conventions to our community. Yes, it took time. Yes, it was an investment. We support the Alaris Center. We also work to get on solid financial ground. CVB, REA, Chamber, Alaris, other partnerships for world-class events that we've seen in our community, such as hockey and curling. And we've been a staunch supporter of the Grand Forks Air Force Base, putting investments and people in place to succeed out there. We embrace new industry sectors like UAS with support of the BRIC and the Grand Sky. And we have the Grand Sky UAS Park development. That's been quite a success. We've seen General Atomics and Northrop Grumman breaking ground out there. We see many win-win partnerships in our community. We are the proud home of the University of North Dakota. We're the proud home of Grand Forks Air Force Base. And I think we've seen business expansion with Cirrus, LA Wind Power, Acme Corporate and Distribution Center, A2S Corporation Center, and the list goes on of what we've accomplished.
Councilmember Bierke?
I will repeat again, 437 yes, 47 no. 90% of the time I voted with the city council. So I hope that puts to bed the attempt from my opponents over the next 2 weeks to say I'm Mr. No. I do not shy away from my belief in life, liberty, and property rights. Those are more important than a walk on the Greenway. It's more important than a concert at the Alaris. It's more important than anything the city has. Life, liberty, and property rights. I suggest if you're confused about it, look it up. It's what the country was founded on. It's called the Declaration of Independence.
Okay,
I got 2 minutes.
Excuse me.
The current mayor has proposed property tax increases for 10 consecutive years, and I'm sure he'll make it 11. Much talk is said about Terry never compromises. I want to cut taxes, but frankly we can't because we're in a situation because how the money's been spent, we can't. So let the record show the mayor who has regularly raised property taxes is going to do it again. The guy who wants the tax cuts is now saying keep the taxes stable. Who's compromised? I have. I would also mention not only is the property tax and sales tax, if you choose to read the 3-2-15 minutes, you'll find out he also supports taxing the internet. Let me get back to my consensus and a better Grand Forks. We had a problem with the Alaris after an incident where the furnaces didn't work and a potential issue with a loss of natural gas. I got placed on the emergency management board and that's now been rectified. The city of Grand Forks now has a second tornado shelter, the Red River High School. That was accomplished under the emergency management board. I am uncomfortable with the I talk. I don't like it, and I say I don't do it. For people who don't think I'm a team player, I'm a team player. I hesitate when I'm forced to do the I stuff. But I have done a lot of things for the city. And most importantly, what I've done for city is stand up. In this case, it's the two main issues at the city level. I've stood up for liberty, and I've stood up for property rights, and I sleep well at night. Thank you.
Do I get 30 seconds?
No, I'm sorry. That was our closing statement. So that concludes our debate. And I really want to thank the two of you. It's fantastic that you're here. Thank you so much.